Lawrie, 40 years ago this month, you and your Southampton players started this truly magical run all the way through to winning the FA Cup. As you sit here now at the club, does it feel like it was 4 decades ago, or are the memories of it still extremely vivid for you?
It doesn't feel like 40 years ago, and I think mainly because it's mentioned that many times. I mean, when I come to games here on a match day, walking from the car park to the door, there's always at least 1 or 2 people will stop and remember. And if they have a youngster with them, they'll talk. If you're getting an autograph or everybody has a camera nowadays, this is the manager that did the, and it makes you realise that the supporters still treasure that moment because it's the only time in the club's history, Whereas if it was like Man United who we beat, they carried on and won the next year. Their supporters expect to win the cup every few years anyway, whereas we were not only the first time ever, but we were a second division club. Odds were against us. I mean, I remember Mike Shannon ringing me up in my room that morning and said, "Gaffer, have you seen the odds?" I said, "No, Mick, what does that mean?" And apparently we were 5 and sometimes 6 to 1 on the day. Well, I think with 2 horses in a race, that apparently is long odds. My pal Jack Charlton apparently predicted we would lose 6-0. So everybody in football thought, well, they've done all right to get there, but they're never going to win it. And that's why I think it was so special. And it doesn't seem, when you say 40 years ago, oh, hang on a minute, time's flying by. But it's always fresh in the mind because of what I've just said.
So when anybody mentions 1976, obviously thoughts immediately turn to the famous final and Bobby Stokes' goal. But obviously when you look back to the start of the run, and it's the 3rd round coming up this weekend here, you very nearly didn't make it through the first match, did you?
Well, yeah, that's right. We were drawn at home to Aston Villa, who were a first division team, and we wanted to win, but it wouldn't be the end of the world, And anyway, on the day, it was only a minute left, I think, and we got this goal, and it was Hughie Fisher, who's a lovely, lovely fella, and Hughie scored the goal. He wasn't, it had been a Mick Shannon or a Peter Osgood, fair enough, but that got us a replay, and of course the replay with Villa midweek, and I believe we took about 10,000 supporters up there. The atmosphere was fantastic. Big club, everybody expecting Villa to win, and it was a great day for everybody, the players and the supporters. And you see, when you have a cup win, if you lose that game, you can say, well, we're concentrating on the league. But if you have a win like that, that helps your league form, and that's exactly what it did.
And then you went on to play Bradford in the quarter-finals, in a game that obviously you were favoured in, with them being in the 4th division.
The thing with Bradford was, of course, we were the favourites then, because Bradford were lower down. That was a hard game. It was a hard game. And the man of the match for me was Ian Turner, and also Paul Bennett. And it was a perfect game for Paul. Big, strong. Bradford played a long ball game, and Paul was in there putting his head in. And between them, him and Ian Turner, because Ian Turner, the goalkeeper, even in the final, the first 20 minutes we got battered, and it hit every part of his body, and he kept us in. And you never really ever got the credit, that the big names further out got. But that was a hard game, Bradford.
And then obviously you went on to the semi-final to face Crystal Palace, and probably fair to say that most of the attention at the time was on the other semi-final, wasn't it?
Well, yes, the 4 teams left were us and Palace, and then Man United and Derby County, who were flying at the time, big club. And I'm positive that both of those clubs, well, I know that, but they all said it afterwards, they didn't want to play each other. They would rather have met in the final. And they all wanted to play Bradford, who were the lowest, Palace rather, or us. And it didn't work out for them that way, but not that Palace was an easy game, by any means, it wasn't. But, we won it, and ironically, 2 years running now, we've drawn them in the Cup again. Last year, Palace won, but this year we are going to win.
What are your memories of that semi-final? Because it was quite a tense match, wasn't it? And two sort of slightly late goals decided it for you.
I can't remember the times of the goals, but the goals were scored by the two probably most unlikely players. The people who were getting the attention were obviously the international lads. I mean, from the back, like Peter Rodrigues, Welsh international, Jimmy McCalliog in midfield, Scottish international, and up front, Peter Osgood, bless him, and Mick Channon. And you had other senior players, such as Mel Blythe in the team, and a mixture of youngsters. And Davy Peach, I'd signed from Gillingham, lower division, obviously come up, and I'm not sure if it was his first penalty. I mean, you'd have to find that out, but we got a penalty. Was that the first goal or the second goal? The second goal. But before that, Paul Gilchrist. Now, Paul was just a good, hard-working player who didn't seek publicity or anything. Him, Nick Holmes, lads like that, they made up a team, and all the glory went to the big names, you know.
Was there a stage of the run-up to then where you felt that something special was happening for you?
I think early days, as I said, Gordon, at that stage, my mind's on the league. All right, the cup, you've got to play in the cup, we know that. But the further on we got, I think particularly the Bradford game, it started to click. Hang on a minute, you know, we've got a chance here. I think, to be fair, and Tommy Docherty and me have spoke many times over the years about this. I think between the semi and the final, I got my team to concentrate totally on the league games. And I hammered into them every time. We've got to get promoted. And if you look at the records between the semi and the final, our league record was very, very good. It was certainly better than Man United's. And I think, and Tommy and one or two of the old players have confirmed this, I think their mind went off the league games and they were more on cup final tickets and functions and all that. I kept our lot together. You've got to remember as well, I mean, as you know, Mike Osmond's been organising for a long time this big celebration, a golf day and a dinner, and then the Mayflower on the Sunday night. There's only going to be 13 left in that squad. Bobby and Ozzy, bless them both, have gone, but that would make a total of 15. And of that 15, Jerry O'Brien was at the beginning, I think he was a sub in one of the first games, but then he was transferred. So when I look back, you've got about 14 players who more or less did the whole season. You know, and there was 42 league games. Obviously, if there's an injury and you put a young'un in and that, but nowadays, I mean, you have to put 25 names in before you start. And so that group, it was special, you know, and to see them again this coming year will be special to everybody, because I'm not sure they'll get together again ever, and they've only been, as I say, a couple of times in the last 40 years.
So in the dressing room before the final, or in the hours leading up to it, what was the mood like among the players? Were they tense? Were they relaxed?
The bus was coming into Wembley, the crowds are already gathering, and I remember we're coming along, and in front of us there was a couple of supporters who'd obviously had a bit of a drink, I think, and they stumbled and they fell towards our bus. I'm sat in the front seat and the driver stopped. It wasn't going that quick. And the fella pulled his pal up and we carried on. So when we got into the dressing rooms and that, we went on the pitch and Tommy Docherty was coming off. His team were already out there. And Tommy and me stopped, and there was a picture in the paper taken with Tommy and me with our heads back laughing. And I remember the newspaper had put a big bubble, what are they saying? You know, nobody guessed. And in actual fact, Tommy said, where have you been? You know, and I said, well, we nearly had a problem there. I said, two supporters, you know, bus nearly hit one. And quick as a flash, Tommy said, who's got his ticket? You know, and that's, Tommy is famous for his one-liners and everything. And that's what we were laughing at. And little things like that, being on the pitch beforehand and, you know, taking it in. And you see, looking back, people like the internationals in my team that I've mentioned never thought they'd play at Wembley again. Mick Channon different, obviously, but the others, they'd seen their days, and to come back again, the light went on, the light switched on. They knew what it was all about. The younger ones, it's everybody's ambition to play at Wembley, and especially if you're like a lower division team and to play in the Wembley Cup final, because no matter what anybody said, it's still the biggest cup final in the world. And when you're waiting in the tunnel, it's like a beehive. You can hear that the buzz and the buzz and the buzz. Then you get the signal to start, and you walk up the tunnel, and the louder it comes, and the light that's there suddenly bursts, and you're out there, the sun was shining, and wallop, like, was it 100,000? They're raw, you know, and that's when it really hits you. And you have that long walk across the pitch. And I think you miss that now, because they don't come out the corner, they come out in the halfway line. But little things like that. And the point I was making, hey, you're going to have all of this beforehand. You're going to have the band, you're going to have the national anthem, you're going to have all of this. But at 3 o'clock, the whistle will go, and it's a football match. Concentrate on that, you know, because otherwise you can get carried away with all of this, which is completely different.
The 83rd minute comes along.
Longest
what do you remember about that?
Longest 7 minutes of my life, you know, waiting for that final whistle.
It must have been an incredible moment to see the goal, though.
Yes, and as I've said, for Bobby to score, between the semi and the final, Bobby missed so many chances to get goals. He lost it, sort of thing, because he was a good little worker. And I mean, don't forget, he had Mick Channon and Peter Osgood with him, and they were providing chances and opportunities, and he missed so many in that build-up, and for him to get the goal was fantastic. On the other hand, I think he obviously loved to get the goal, but I think he would have loved to have one of the others to go and have all the glory in the interviews and that afterwards. He's a very, very nice, quiet lad, and but he'll be forever remembered because of that moment in history.
So the day after you've won the cup, you'll come back to Southampton. Can you recall the scenes that you were met with that day?
Well, it's legendary. The trip around on the open top bus, none of us dreamt how big that would be. I mean, I think it's the biggest turnout ever for any occasion. And it moved along and through the streets. There was hordes and hordes of people there. The bus came in behind the band. We were then entertained by the council and everything in there. But 4 of us went out on the balcony. Peter Osgood, Mick Channon, Peter Rodriguez and me, and with the cup and holding it up, and different people came out and waved. And me, they were giving me a microphone, and I thanked everybody, and everybody's cheering, and I said we should carry it on, and why don't we have street parties? Well, for weeks afterwards, calls were coming in. Can Lawrie get somebody to come down? And the players were all given jobs to go and turn up. Street parties, it was like the end of the war, you know. And literally, they did have the parties. And so it went on. And I don't think that would have happened anywhere else. I don't think it would happen at the big clubs who, as I said, expect to win. But there's so many memories of that. It could keep coming back. It's fantastic.
Just finally, FA Cup third round this weekend. If you could give a message to the current Southampton squad about the magic of the cup and what it can do for you, what would it be?
Win, because you'll have such an impact, not just for the people that pay money to come, with everybody outside, the school children, the old ladies that never come to a match. The cup is magic, and get through to them just how important it is. But don't treat it as it's not as important as the league it is.